Canada's Walk for the Wounded is held every year and is a 168-kilometer march that originally started at CFB Petawawa and made its way all the way to Parliament Hill in Ottawa. The marchers wear a 20-pound weighted vest and do 22 push-ups every hour for a total of 176 hours. Today on the podcast, I have two of the co-founders of the Walk for the Wounded here in Canada, and we're chatting about its origin story and why it's so important to have veteran-specific events just like this one to help bring the community together and heal. Another great episode here in the Hard to Kill podcast. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Hard to Kill podcast, the go-to podcast for military, LEO, and EMS professionals, sharing ideas and experiences from around the world to make you hard to kill. Here's your host, Dave Morrow.
Welcome, folks, to another episode of the Hard to Kill podcast. Today, I am chatting with Dylan and Scott, co-founders of the Walk for the Wounded. This episode is going to be about their charity and what they're doing for the veteran community. So, Dylan, Scott, welcome aboard, man. Welcome to the podcast. I guess, Dylan, we'll start with you, man. We'll get right into it. What brought you to the podcast and what's the Walk for the Wounded all about, man?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for having both of us and for the time. What brought me, obviously, the podcast is it's that kind of that branch between obviously our approach with the organization, and we'll get into it, is a lot of branching like the physical health and the mental health components and how they coexist. So obviously, the work you're doing and the space you hold, it kind of sends that same message across. And then getting into with the organization itself. So Walk for the Wounded we're a nonprofit organization that is a charitable partner with Wounded Warriors. So we run this year we're running our two events, both key named the Walk for the Wounded, one taking place in Ottawa and then one in Canmore. And it's a fundraising based event within exclusive to the veteran and first responder community, where participants come together, fundraise for Wounded Warriors and the work they do with mental health and OSIs.
All right, right on. So Dylan, what's your backstory? Like, I saw you guys on the news, and I was like, okay, you guys are walking from PET. Okay, that's cool. What was your experience in the CAF, and then what brought you along to where you are now, where you've got a pretty cool charity on the go?
Absolutely. I did. So I served just under 5 years. So I was with 3RCR. Posted in Petawawa, so I was did my time with the Airborne there. I had a pretty fortunate for my even a shorter career there. I deployed in 2018 overseas during Op Impact to Iraq. So I got my six months in the sandbox there. Nice. Had some really good experience through it, and then also we deployed with the floods in Ottawa, so a little bit more domestic work, as well as the kind of the nonstop training wheel that we enjoy on the high readiness. And then, so as my career went on, I sustained a couple of pretty good injuries. I broke my back in 2016. And then towards the end, 2019, my knee went on me. So I started looking, kind of beyond the job, kind of knowing that, all right, I got these couple critical injuries that are going to be with me for a while, and looking beyond, life after service. That was kind of the next big chapter. Lo and behold, COVID hit. Kind of in that space, I was looking at getting out. And at the time, I'd gone on to do some personal training myself. Got into like my strength and conditioning coaching, and it was kind of at a standstill. I had throughout my time, like I'd lost a handful of friends to suicide while in service. I lost a friend, kind of colleague friend with a training accident, and just kind of saw this gap in the system in a sense where it was. There was all these different approaches to mental health, but I really saw it like, well, ultimately, if we break down what it is, so many of us enjoy in service and the camaraderie and the kind of that having each other's back, but wasn't necessarily the biggest approach to it in the mental health space. So I'd been doing these suffer Sundays, I would call them. I pick a workout and I do 1,000 reps of it every Sunday. Just kind of that kind of personal factor, kind of spend that time working on yourself. And as the weeks went by, I was like, you know what, like I kind of had this ever turning thought in my head of, if I'm going to do this, I'd rather do it for a cause. And especially as, people were left to their own devices throughout all of COVID, and we saw the mental health concerns continue to rise. I actually reached out to Wounded Warriors, the organization there, and was like, yeah, I want to run this event. They gave me the platform to be able to run it kind of how I want. And with one of our other co-founders there, Jeff, we kind of sat down and we planned out, like, all right, do we want to do 24 hours of, different lifts? Do we want to do like all the hero workouts back to back? Like, how do we want to do this? And we landed on, all right, let's walk from Petawawa to Parliament. Like, it's 175K, and we're all average guys. So we're like, all right, yeah, like, how terrible can it be to go for a long walk?
Yeah, in running shoes.
In running shoes, not in full kit or anything. So we did add on the weighted vest. So 20-pound vests and 22 push-ups every hour for the 22 a day. And then, as Scott will tell you, I kind of came by his house for Canada Day get together and told my idea, and kind of caught him while he's had a few. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'm in. So
that's the best time to propose anything, right?
Oh, hey, exactly.
You a few beers in, bro? Yeah. Oh man. Okay. I got this idea.
Yeah, exactly. And then, one thing kind of led to the next. In the first year, we had 4 of us.
Say that again, Scott.
I said I feel kind of taken advantage of. He knew that I was going to be drinking, and he came by and asked me
that. Right on, nice.
Hey, sometimes it's just the right opportunity. And
opportunity,
So then, we led into that first year, and from that first year, I was definitely taken back by the amount of interest we generated. Like, we put it together, and I think it was like 6-7 weeks from the day we announced it to the day we stepped off. We had set like the $22,000 fundraising goal, kind of stick with the number 22 throughout. But yeah, by the time it was all said and done, and we settled after the event around $36,000 raised. We had, coverage from multiple news outlets. We got we had front newspaper coverage in Ottawa, and just the outpouring from the community, from like high ranks to low ranks, was really, for me, kind of hit to the core. Is like, this is people are ready for this, and it's well received, and it's obviously we're hitting the right market.
Hey, let me just interrupt you for one quick second. I want you to be able to help as many human beings as possible, just like I'm doing here with the podcast. You can be somebody's freaking hero right now, but you'll likely never meet them. If you head to the review section of your podcast app, hopefully that's Apple Podcasts, go to this section, scroll down, go to leave a review, and rate the podcast, leave a review, and let the power of the internet do the rest of the work for you. This is the way that other people can make the decision whether or not they want to listen in, get fitter, get healthier, and become harder to kill, just like you. So do your good deed for the day. Feel good about yourself that you're helping somebody that you may never know. You may literally change somebody's life just by doing this, man. It's huge. But it's so virtuous because you don't even know who that person's going to be. Wild, wild world we live in. So if you're enjoying this content, pass it on. This is the 30 seconds of good behavior that will inevitably come back to you in the future. So head to your podcast app, leave a review, and drop a comment. Really appreciate you listening. Really appreciate you subscribing, and keep on tuning in to some more episodes. All right, back to the show. Right on. That's really cool. It just kind of, you saw that there was a need. You also knew you were already doing something, and something needed to be done. So organically, it turned into what you have now, which is a really impressive charity that's able to generate a lot of donations for Wounded Warriors Canada. So that's pretty noble. I want to touch base once I talk to Scott about the Suffer Sundays and what that consists of, because I think not only myself, but those that are listening will probably want to know what that sounds like. I already got a taste of what you just said there, just daisy chaining kind of hero watts together, which always is a surefire way to increase the suffering. So Scott, so you got used and abused. You got taken advantage of, and now you're a co-founding member of the Walk for the Wounded. I guess that'll teach you to drink beers, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It hasn't stopped me, but you'd think I'd learned my lesson. But yeah, like I went to battle school with Pace, with Dylan in Meaford, and he ended up going to 3, and then I went to 2 RCR. So I was a mech guy. So walking from Pet to Ottawa definitely threw me for a loop, because I was the whole time I was sitting there, I'm like, where's my lav? But it was good. Like I did under 5 years, same as Dylan. I got out. I didn't kind of have the same injuries and stuff like that. I was just looking for something a little different. We were just in that kind of what Dylan touched on with this, the training wheels were always on and never moving kind of thing. I deployed in 2018 to Latvia, and that was more of just a training thing, like usual. But so yeah, I got out, and I was kind of at a loss of what to kind of do with my spare time, and I started to train for marathons. I was doing Murphs like all the time, and then I was at my in-laws house, and Dylan came over, and there I was, 3 sheets to the wind, and he mentions this walk, and obviously I'm going to say absolutely, let's do it. And we've kind of just hit the ground running from there. And it's the same thing where a lot of my sergeants and warrants like that, you could see them suffering, and there just wasn't a whole lot what seemed to help. Like there's this stuff on base and all that kind of stuff, but it seems like it's still kind of a hush topic in some ways. So we're just trying to change that fact and create this open platform where dudes can get together and just kind of endure something that sucks wholeheartedly and kind of have a moment with that. So it's been quite the experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd do it all over again. So yeah, it's been great.
Right on. I love that concept of, the suffering, communal suffering, right, which is ingrained in us, right, especially in the infantry. That's what it literally, like, it bonds, I shouldn't say literally, but it's what bonds your section and your platoon. It's that joint suffering, that you're in it together. But then once you kind of lose that, you realize how valuable that was. Because when you're in it, like, I hate this is awful, and then you realize the dynamic that it creates is strong. And anytime men and like a platoon are together, or like in any situation that they have to go through some struggle, they unite, right? And like, I'm sure you're like, obviously you guys are buddies still, and like, just like myself, I'm buddies with the guys I did QL2 and QL3 back in the day. In the early 2000s, they're still buddies of mine, and we'll still go hang out whenever we get a chance. So the overlying, I guess, concept now, if I understand correctly, is not only to raise awareness, but to also improve that, like, camaraderie amongst the military community by doing something that's hard, and in doing so establish the ability to start a conversation. Did I get that right about the kind of the fundamentals of the march?
Yeah, no, I think you pretty well hit it on the head. I think it is that kind of twofold, and we do extend towards the military and first responder community. And obviously, because there's a lot of overlap, a lot of guys that get out, or girls get out, they go on where you look at for jobs, first responder community. So it's also full of the veteran community. But exactly that. So you have something where like, it gives people a goal to work on, especially if you're a transitioning member or someone like kind of in that limbo post-service, and you're kind of in that disconnected state. It's like, all right, well, here's a challenge that is going to kind of keep you goal orientated, going to give you something to work on, and also going to give you that bigger system of networking as well. Like we've seen it over the last couple of years, that kind of like, we all know it. Anyone who's been in service, Canada's a pretty small military, and it's pretty easy to make those connections. So it's once you kind of got into it, we got connected with so many other great organizations doing things, and been able to bring other individuals into the space that are kind of in that limbo state. So yeah, taking on that's something to suffer on. And then as well, and it's part of the reason we keep it exclusive with military and first responders, is the conversations that, like, last year as our first team-based event, the conversations that were taking place on the walk was like, it was exactly what we were aiming at. You have people from all different kind of walks, different experiences, different units, and you're having conversations that you can tell aren't openly, like, they may not have openly talked about before, or it's not really that conversation you'd have in front of people that hadn't been there. The stories that you can't really say without, someone's going to look at you a little sideways. It's the way especially with the desensitization most of us have towards it all, the humor we kind of overlay in there.
Yes.
Is you have that space where, yeah, you can have that talk, and it's, I'm sure you can attest to it as a personal trainer, is you get someone in the state of kind of like that suffering or that hardcore work, you'll see kind of their true self more than you will maybe sitting on a couch talking about mental health. For a lot of these guys and girls, that's their kind of their state. Their state is being in the field or being in a workout to relieve their stress.
Right on. Yeah, absolutely. There's I wish I could remember quotes. Like I can remember like random stuff from like 15 years ago, but like to remember a quote, I always have to paraphrase. And I can't remember if it was Plato or Socrates, but essentially he was saying like, show me a man playing for an hour and I'll know his character for life, or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're deeply engrossed in something that's physically demanding, you will ultimately see like that individual's true character. So you're bang on with that. Like you see it if you've ever, like, I instructed tons of troops during the, my years in, and you see them in garrison, and then you get them in the field, and like the super soldier that you thought might not be so super once put to the test in the field. It's just cool to see, because it's a really interesting aspect of being human, right? It's how much suffering can you endure, and can you do it cheerfully? Like it's just this weird thing.
100%. And I mean, you can probably attest to it as well. And like, you can be on the worst training exercise and just hating your life, and you'll look over and you'll see your buddy that's suffering as much, if not more. And so you get that little warm feeling inside of like,
it makes you feel good about yourself.
Like I feel better. Like I'm seeing how he's doing. Like I'm fine. I can last another day.
Yeah.
And it's that we're all a little masochistic in that way. I think we all come out with it where it's, it's kind of that sense of, you take all these people that are kind of hard chargers and you put them out post service, and they're hammers without nails, just looking for something. Yeah. So we kind of give that something to chew on for a bit.
Right on. Let me just clear up some of the details. So Scott, I'll throw this to you. Like one of the big questions that pops up in my head, like it's 175K. I believe the first go around, it took you 36 hours to complete. Are you guys okay? So it was a small, like I get, like it was a handful of you guys when you first started. So like, what did you do for shitters? What did you guys do for food? What did you guys do to sleep? Did you sleep? I want to know the details, Scott. Like, hit me with them, man. I've got a lot of questions. I need some answers.
I'll touch on the shitter one later, because that's, I don't know if we're allowed to say what we did on the side of the highway. But for food, we had what was it called, Dylan? I'm terrible with remembering details. Bored and Saucy, or out of Petawawa. So they were able to run us out some meals, and we stopped. I think we try to kind of pace ourselves and kind of break in certain increments to get something to eat, or just when we were hungry. The truck, our safety vehicle, had a whole like canteen essentially in the back of it, where I was munching on like Jolly Ranchers to keep my sugars up, because it was like 35 degrees out during the middle of the day.
And like 50-degree humidity, because it's Ontario.
We took, like I remember taking my plate carrier off, and it reminded me of just like the summer days in Gagetown when we'd be out walking around, and just there was sweat where I didn't want there to be sweat. It felt disgusting, and I had to keep reminding myself that we're doing this for the kind of greater good sort of thing. So yeah, there was that, and we took lots of like water breaks, and we slept for not very long near the kind of end of it, because our feet were blown up, like just hurting bodies really. But it wasn't that much of a rest. It was more of a get up, let's go, let's get this over with, we're this far, let's rock and roll sort of thing. And I'll say, just so if there's any cops listening or who want to kind of prosecute us later, we did nothing illegal in terms of shitters and relieving ourselves. We did it all within the confines of Ontario law.
I like that answer. Okay, so now next steps, like you've got more people that are participating. how is that looking logistically? Because now you've got clearly, like you've got an event, like it's the real deal. So what are you guys doing, and what are you expecting preparation wise physically for individuals that want to participate?
I can take this one as a I guess have sorted out some of the details on that regards. First off, so yeah, especially with the two events, we kind of set our capacity at the East for kind of growing gradually just to be able to contain it. So our max is going to be 20 teams for the year. Currently, we have 13 registered, so 13 teams of 4 for the East. For the West, it's kind of 2 teams of 2 or 4, and we got 14 registered for that. So yeah, definitely significant more uptake. And like we have the West, we have teams coming from Vancouver Island to do the walk in Canmore, Alberta there. And Ontario, we have people interested from all over the province. So definitely kind of all walks of life, all types of people, and increased interest with that. So what we did, because obviously, yeah, the fitness concern is kind of that we don't want people to break themselves for a charity event and then be out of work the week after, and of course it's a care control aspect, because it's basically a moving echelon of an event for the East, where you leave and we're just safety vehicles all the way there. So we did a few things this year as we continue to grow that were different. I actually developed up a handful of training programs for the participants as they come on. So using software I do for my personal training, basically generate a handful of different varying skill levels and equipment necessary training programs, as well as a full walking kind of progression, where you should be at certain weeks out, so that people are holding themselves accountable and just kind of taking seriously how gruesome this walk can be. Like, I think a lot of people in here, it's just a walk. Like, it's not. They kind of ease off the gas pedal a bit. And the unanimous thing last year from our participants that did come out and join was that it was pretty consistently one of the hardest things they had done, doing the 42K with that weighted vest, with the push-ups. Like, they were, a lot of people admitted, like, I didn't take it seriously enough how gruesome this is on the body. So we put together kind of these workouts are going to suck, and they should suck, but this should be the level at which you're kind of pushing your body to be able to for this to be less hard on you. And then we also took the Eastern event, now that we are growing, rather than being down the highway and kind of the safety concerns with that as you get 20 people at a time walking down the road, as we moved it on to the ATV and quad trails that run out that way. So we basically, with the exception of, I think, 8 kilometers, we have like a private trail for the whole route, so people can actually not walking on concrete, not kind of falling asleep walking into traffic, little care and control things that it's like, hey, it's fine for us to take some unnecessary risk for ourselves as we were developing it, but we got to take it seriously for these people coming out that are sacrificing their time and their days off to come out and do it.
Right. Bang on. Yeah, because you're doing, I mean, like, if it's 36 hours, right, times 22 push-ups, so what you're doing, like, close to like 700 push-ups, right? Like, that's a substantial amount of volume just on the push-up side of things. And then the walking, like, it's like, oh yeah, and I gotta walk 175 kilometers. Oh, okay. Oh, and you got to throw on 20 pounds weighted vest. Oh, okay. One thing I'm not clear on, it's military veterans and members and first responders, right? That can do the walk. Did I get that right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's it's anyone. So it's basically, it's the same demographic that Wounded Warriors helps. They provide programs and training for people in both the military and first responder communities.
Okay, right on. I don't know if you guys are tracking, but there's Irreverent Warriors down in the States that I just got tuned into. They do something similar. They do walks all over, ruck marches all over the States, and it's for veterans. And I think it's a great idea. Because you mentioned it, right? It's having those conversations that if you're not in the club, the conversation is usually not the same, and it's harder to have that really dark humor type conversations that we all are able to have because we've done this stuff, there's no judgment. That's what I like about it. And that's what I appreciate about what you guys are doing. There's that element of like, well, this is us, and we're helping out our own community. And we want to be good. We want to know that we're surrounded by our own people. I like that concept. So very novel approach. Okay. So I want to go back to the strength and conditioning side of things and your suffer Sundays. And Scott, I'll throw it to you after I touch base with Dylan. So Dylan, give me an example. What is a suffer Sunday, and how many reps and like how much pain are we looking at here?
So summer Sunday, so it was 1,000 reps each Sunday. So I pick a different workout each week. And it kind of started out of the blue. I was just kind of one of those things. I was frustrated with everything being closed down and COVID. So first day I kicked off, I did 1,000 tire flips for time. So I think it was like one of those, like a good size, like tractor tire, like I don't know the weight on them. So I did that first one, and I was like, okay, like that was terrible. What am I doing next? Like, what am I doing?
Kamea, how long? Like, what's your PR on that?
I think the tire flips, I want to say, were like an hour and 20. Something like that. So then I was like, yeah, it was terrible. All right, what am I doing next week? And at the time, I was doing doing some online training as a strength conditioning coach, and kind of just kicking off into that space. Fitness was always like, it was my favorite pastime forever. So then I think over the 6 weeks, I did the tire flips. I did 1,000 deadlifts at 135 for time. I did push-ups, leg raises, lunges, and I think the last one I finished off with, I believe that's all of them, is I did 1,000 burpees for time to finish. And it was it's as bad as it sounds.
Yeah,
but I was just saying, like that weird feeling we were talking about earlier, where it was like, wow, that was absolutely horrible. Like, I can't wait to do it again. Like, I can't wait to do another one. Like, it's that weird, masochistic reward system we all have kind of ingrained into us.
Yeah, it's hardwired into our like amygdala, our like hive brain, right? That reptilian brain goes, I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Those are dirty. Those are super dirty, man. Just, oh my God. Here in Montreal, we used to have this thing called is it called the Hero Challenge? It was called something. It was deadlifts. And he had to do, I think it was 100,000 pounds. So it was like, load the bar however you want. And it was just like in the middle of downtown, and like my buddy did. And it was just insanity. It was something similar to that, like 1,000 reps or whatever, right? Like, so that being said, I think there's definitely a possibility to do some challenges in the hard to kill community here with this, because we got a lot of masochists too that just want more pain. So I think a Suffer Sunday might be something that we can have on deck. I was doing this coming week, just doing a simple like 100 kettlebell swings a day challenge, just to get your ass back in gear. And I think we can finish it off with maybe some Suffer Sunday extravaganza. This is cool, man. I like this. So Scott, over to you, man. Are you as much of a masochist as Dylan is?
Not, he's something else, really. Like, it's
I'm getting that impression.
I kind of have my own versions of these things. Like, I'm kind of back into a traditional split working out where I'm doing like push pull legs kind of thing. But on my active rest days, I try to get out and kind of punish my body a little bit. So I've been trying to get myself ready to go for the Ottawa walk. And so one of the things I really miss about being in the military is the rucking. So I bought myself this like kind of shitty backpack, and I've just been loading it up with whatever. So what I've been doing on, I think it's like Sundays and Thursdays, is I'll be like, okay, I'm going 10K. So the first day I'll go and I'll load it up with like 80 pounds. And then if that is okay, the next time, okay, I'll go 100 pounds. So I'm just trying to get my stuff moving again, because I work still from home. I'm still like, I'm not getting out. I'm not kind of being as active as I used to be, aside from my working out and stuff like that. So I'm really just trying to push my endurance in terms of getting a ruck on and going, or putting a plate carrier on and trying to run as far as I can with the plate carrier. A lot of the times it's just my stupidity when I'm running with a plate carrier on, because I'll be like, oh man, I'm 10K out. And now I got to go back home. So a lot of the times it's not my mathism, it's just like my stupidity in terms of not knowing how to calculate distance properly. But that's kind of my thing. I go through these cycles where I get in the fittest shape of my life, and then summer comes around. I'm like, well, a beer outside sounds pretty good, and I let myself go a little bit. So I go through these cycles of letting myself go, becoming super fit. So I'm trying to stay in decent shape the whole year round. I mean, we're into June now, and we're doing okay. So hopefully, I can keep it up through the summer. But I have a newborn son as well, so it's
Hey, congrats.
just finding the time to do all these things, and it's yeah. I'm not as crazy as Dylan. That's a long-winded way to say that Dylan is a psychopath, and if you want to be in shape, listen to him.
Yeah, yeah. I'm already feeling insecure listening to him, and it seems like you are too. You're like, wow, I'm doing all these runs, and like I feel like I need to justify myself now too, because I'm a trainer. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah, of course, yeah, I'm doing kettlebell swings. Yeah, every day I do something. So it's cool that you've got a much more laid back approach, which is very similar to mine. I do have a plan, but I also like smashing beers and having a good meal when it presents itself. And I got a I shouldn't say a sweet spot, but a soft spot for anything potato related. And I blame that on my Irish ancestry. So if there's chips or fries or anything in my like vicinity, they're gone. They're going downrange. So very cool. No doubt that obviously you guys are fit machines. And Scott, you did mention marathons and stuff before. Just curious if you've done any, and if not, are you planning any?
So I've only done halves. I was training for the Army Marathon when Dylan had approached me to do the walk for the wounded the first year. And then after I did the walk, I'm like, I'm not doing that because my feet were still pretty banged up. I have full intentions of doing it. I've been trying to get back into running, but it's kind of a slow pace right now. Like it's my pace for running isn't what I want it to be. So it's just more of I'm going through the process of getting my stamina and my legs up to where it was when I was doing all that training. So it's more trying to work on like sprints and all those things to get adjusted to marathon pace and all those things. But I'm hoping to do, I don't know if the Army run is happening or how I don't think that in Ottawa they're doing an Army run this year just based on lack of volunteership, because usually it's put on by the military, and I don't think the CAF has the personnel to help put it on. Right. So I'm looking to do that right now. I'm just kind of going for 10Ks, that kind of thing. But if one presents itself, I definitely want to do it because it's one of those things where you can just get out on the road and turn your brain off, and it's a little bit of therapy for me. And I just put on podcasts and whatever and just try to educate myself. It's a good release. So running is definitely something I want to keep doing. And yeah, for sure, if a marathon's out there, I want to get at it.
Right on. Everything that you're doing, considering that you're a new dad, that's commendable, because having been down that road twice, oh man, it's just a bag drive from start to finish. It's like being on a final X with no end in sight. It's just like going and going and going, sleep depth, you name it. So getting into workouts is just like, more power to you. Especially if you're trying to bite off, like a marathon or even a half marathon, while being a new dad. Like, good on you, especially because we get super chubby. Can't help it. You put on that dad mass, that dad bod just overtakes, man. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just nature. So that's how I justified it to myself. So now that I'm kind of in the clear, my kids are a little bit older, it's time to work it off. But guys, I want to know how to get involved. But on top of that, I'm sure those that are listening want to know how to get involved, but how to donate and where to find you on social media.
100%. So yeah, the biggest thing right now, like we're still in like a registration phase as well. So if there's anyone listening that is from, like you said, from the military first responder communities, up until July 1st, the registration is going to be open. But both that for the registration and the link to our donation page can be found on our website. So walkforthewounded.ca. If you're looking to register, click on upcoming events. It'll have all the details for both events. what kind of the prerequisites are, what the event layout is going to be for each, and then donation page, it's actually run through, right? So all funds go straight to Wounded Warriors, kind of set up. So then that way Wounded Warriors is able to issue tax receipts. So all donations can be done, get your tax write-off for the year. And the nice thing is, so money goes right to the cause. So we don't actually touch or hold anything. It's all done through their national level charity platform there. And that way funds are hitting the ground running, especially now that with COVID, the restrictions ending and they're able to run more programs. I know they're really hitting the ground running, and talking with the directors that kind of catching up for those 2 years. So the more support we can get their way, the more ultimately people are getting helped with it. And then we usually try to keep people updated kind of on what's going on with our social media. Walk for the Wounded on Facebook and at Walk for the Wounded on Instagram, kind of keeping people in the loop if anything announcements come up that way.
Right on. Yeah, I like your feed. Big fan. I gotta learn a few things from you guys. I'm a bit older than you guys, so my grasp of things like IG and like Facebook, like it feels like I'm a caveman, like smashing two rocks together. For some reason, I just have a hard time. So, yeah, good on you guys for mastering that and getting the word out on the socials. Guys, this has been a hoot. Scott or Dylan, do you have any last comments or things you want to bring up that are important for the Walk for the Wounded charity? Or Walk for the Wounded charity. I'm sorry, guys. I've done the Walk to Remember, the Walk for Remembrance, Ruck for Remembrance. I'm inundated now, but I got that right. I know who I'm interviewing today. It's Walk for the Wounded.
100% Walk for the Wounded. Yeah, no, I think kind of just like the overall message we want to send, especially with the listeners and the outreach you have is just, again, getting that interest to people, especially reaching out to anyone that might be either new to the transition, looking towards getting out, or maybe been out for a while. And we know, I know, transitioning out, it caught me off guard what it was going to be like. I kind of had a plan that laid out of what it didn't involve COVID, but I still had this, here's my general plan. I'm going to, I was going to go into the personal training space. I got COVID should be over by the fall. It should be good. Lo and behold, the last few years have not been what was expected. But
2 weeks to flatten the curve, man. 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Exactly. Curve's got to be pretty flat by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just extending to them is don't hesitate to reach out to get involved. It's something that, the feedback has been, if you're in that space, getting around, kind of getting around people that do get it, have that camaraderie that might be lacking after service to, take on an event or even, reach out for a program. If you are struggling, we're happy to do, programs for people as well, and just get involved in the training process, get into the community in a sense. It's kind of that, I'm going to paraphrase as well, going back to quotes. I believe it's one by Jordan Peterson there, is where if you have, having a single aimed goal or something to focus on, and he kind of talks about it with his clinical practice, if you could get, people that are struggling just to exercise regularly, get some good nutrition, proper sleep, 80% of his clients wouldn't need his help. So, it's the best way to be an example. And then obviously our kind of underlying message in all this is, leading by example with Walk for the Wounded, less talk, more walk, and kind of putting your feet where your mouth is in regards to mental health, is taking that on. Kind of, if you're something that's important to you, it's tough to be the change you want to see. It's a lot, it's a catchy phrase, but it definitely takes a lot of checking your ego to get out there and, and kind of I want to lead by example in the space. And for us, we're tired of getting notifications of guys that lost the battle to themselves. So we send it to anyone in that space. Come out, support, reach out and see how you get involved.
Right on. Scott?
Yeah, I don't know if I could really top that, really. And just saying that, mental health and the approaches to mental health can be kind of a solemn and it's not talked about in a manner that we like. We still want it to be as serious as possible, but we're out here to have a good time. We're out here to make friends. We're here to have good conversations. We're here to support one another. But it's not like we're completely serious all the time. Like we want to have a good time. So anyone listening that wants to come out, don't think that we're a bunch of guys that are just going to be straight faced the whole time. And we want to have fun with everybody. And it's supposed to be a weekend that you can look back on and be like, damn, that was a lot of fun with those guys. I feel a lot better. I had a good conversation with so and so. I'm going to do it again next year. Like we want to kind of create this open, kind of happy space. And I don't know if you can tell from just how I've been on the podcast, it's just how we are in general. We're kind of goose and we like to have a good time. So yeah, like more than welcome anyone that wants to come out, and I appreciate you having us on. It's a good place that we can kind of raise what we want to raise, and it's yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. I love what both you guys just said there, the more walk, or is it less talk, more walk, or more walk, less talk? Putting yourself into your body and out of your mind, but not out of your mind, into your body and out of your head. Sorry.
100%.
Which, yeah, I mean, like that, like you said, like there's a lot of things that can be remedied through physical activity. And then on top of that, like you're saying, Scott, like, mental health and everything, I at least, and from my perspective as well, like we always, I mean, by we, I mean like society, like here in Canada, it's always approached from this like solemn aspect where you have, like suicides and depression, and I agree, like obviously that is the side effects, but ultimately, like for me anyways, and it seems like for you as well, like that approach doesn't really resonate. Like that's not how I approach it. I approach it from a very like dark humor type thing, because that's how I learned how to cope with it. And so it's cool to have a place where you can have those, dark conversations and humor, which allows you to heal, which is part of what we need to do more of, especially when we're out, because I can't have these conversations with my wife. She'll freak out. I can't have them with my buddies that weren't military because they'll freak out. So it's really cool that you guys decided to put this on and take action, which is essentially what we need here. And it's cool to see that, this veteran community and all these new initiatives are all popping up. And I don't think it's coincidence. I think there's like I said before, like a veteran renaissance where we're starting to get our voice. We're starting to realize we're young. We're still lean and mean, at least some of us anyways. And we want to make a difference. And just like what we learned in the military, adapt and overcome and all these very important principles and being ethical and being moral, they're all applying now to the charities, the nonprofits, and the businesses that we're running. And you guys are in that space and kicking ass and taking names. So it's been a pleasure having you guys on. So folks, go out and check the Walk for the Wounded, get involved, and don't forget, train hard, fight easy. See you on the next one. Peace.
Awesome. Thank you.